our skull, and that's the retina of our eyeball. Well, the retina gets that photon, converts it into an electrical impulse that goes to our brain and is interpreted as the image we see. So photons from that object strike your retina. Now, in the case of something like Venus, we're seeing photons of light that come from the sun. Light from the sun hits the surface of Venus, reflects off, and comes to our eyeball, and that's how we see Venus. But in the case of very distant stars and galaxies, these are photons that are generated within the star that come all of that distance across millions of miles of space, light years of space, to strike our retina, and they become part of us. So they touch us. So astronomy can indeed be interactive. So we're going to talk about all the great stuff that's in our sky tonight that you can see. This month, of course, being September, the autumnal equinox is here. Yes, that's right, folks. The end of summer, the first day of fall. One of the best times of year to be out observing the sky. That's coming up. We'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also talk about what else is available and visible for us to see in a late summer sky as we work our way through the month toward the fall, the first day of fall, or the autumnal equinox. We'll also talk about the sun's, the Earth's position as it orbits the sun related to that. But you know, tonight is really about, it's really about space exploration. Why do I say that? I say that because this month is a really special month. Coming up at the middle of this month, there's a very, very special space flight taking place. This is the first space flight, a multi-day space flight of an all-civilian crew aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket and Crew Dragon. It's the Inspiration 4 mission that will carry all civilians on the first ever all-civilian spaceflight. That's coming up, but we have Scott Poteet, who is the flight director for Inspiration 4, joining us tonight as our special guest. And so we'll be talking to Scott in just a few minutes, but we'll run through some of the basic information about the night sky. And we want your questions for Scott. This is something, of course, you know, is a major part of this program. We want to hear from you. So send us your questions, put them in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you. So send us your questions about this mission. As you hear from Scott Poteet about this mission, I'm sure you'll have questions. Please send those so we can ask Scott. This is a really unique opportunity. I don't think anybody else has had Scott before in a program like this, and we look forward to having him as part of this program and having you, giving you a chance to ask questions of him. So please do. Okay, so where are you seeing this program from this evening? From where are you streaming this program? Please let us know. If you're calling in from California, from Oregon or Montana or someplace like that, let us know. For my friends Kat and Howard up near Starbase 812, if you're joining us tonight, thanks for joining us. Glad to see you here. Thanks very much for everything. And don't forget to send us your questions, Kat, Howard. And anybody else that's on from anywhere else around, please let us know where you're coming from. Throw it in the chat. We'd love to have you aboard. All of what we talk about tonight is applicable for viewing anywhere across the United States. So if there's anything that's radically different, I'll be sure to let you know, but we're right on target with most things. Okay, so where are we now this year in our astronomical almanac, if you will? Well, here's where we are. Sunrise now comes at 6:30 a.m. You know, back in the middle of the summer, it was 5:30 a.m. Now it's down to 6:30 a.m. So we lost a little bit of sunlight on the front end of the day. And sunset now comes at 7:29. That'll be tomorrow night, 7:29 for this latitude in the United States, 40 degrees north latitude. You'll get some variation as you go further north and further south. But that's where it is now. And we've already lost an hour off of the evening. So we've lost 2 hours of daylight off of our day already. It's still nice and warm out, so make sure you get out and enjoy the warm summer evenings. It's a great time to observe the sky, and the moon would be a great target for you to observe, except for one thing. It's in a waning crescent, so it's a very thin fingernail moon that rises at about 2:30 in the morning tomorrow morning and sets tomorrow afternoon. So if you're going to catch a look at the moon, you either have to be up very, very late tonight or very early tomorrow. But if you do that, if you get up early tomorrow to see it before sunrise in the pre-dawn sky, there are other rewards for you to see of the thin waning crescent fingernail moon. So if you happen to be on vacation or you're an early riser or any of those sorts of things, the moon is a great target, and of course, it looks really, really good in binoculars. Now, as I mentioned before, we have planets in the evening sky that are great to see. Venus over on the western side of the sky, southwestern portion of the sky after sunset. Jupiter and Saturn are coming up over on the eastern side of the sky. As the sky darkens, you'll see those as well. And there are also great summer constellations. Right now is the perfect time to get out under a dark sky, someplace not far from home, or maybe right in your backyard, where you can take a look at these main constellations, some right down on the southern horizon, and some directly overhead that look really, really great and easy for you to see no matter where you're observing, because they all contain bright stars, easy to recognize. So this is also a really great time to nail your sky orientation, to figure out from where you live how to orient yourselves in terms of direction so that you can have the best view of the sky overhead. And you can also be watching as we match with the rotation of the Earth underneath the sky. So all these things put together will help make you a sky observer. It's really easy to do. Doesn't take very much at all. You don't need a telescope. All you need is a little bit of patience and a little bit of time outside. The other cool thing about doing this is that you can invite others to join you. Other family members can join you. Maybe folks in your neighborhood can get together with you to take a look at the night sky. Or you could share this with family members over Zoom across the country. It's also a really cool thing to do because we're all under the same sky, so we can all share the same sky together. So again, this is our regular monthly program, Night Skies at Home, the September edition. Thanks very much for joining us tonight. We have plenty of stuff to do. Okay, we'll get to that. Also, as I mentioned before, we'll take a look at a good sky map that will help us understand what's available to be seen. And we'll also take a peek at when we might have an opportunity to view International Space Station as it flies over Philadelphia. Now, I keep saying as it flies over Philadelphia, but for those of you located in other places around the country, you can see International Space Station as well, along with many other bright satellites. All you need is a good resource to help you identify when and where to look to see these. And if you can do that, that'll work out just great. And you can go out and you can see International Space Station. The cool thing about it is, when you see International Space Station, you're actually watching people in space station fly across the sky. And there are plenty of folks up in space these days, soon to be joined by a group more. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But you can see International Space Station too. So we'll describe that a little bit more as well. Okay, great. So don't forget, we want your questions. So let's take just a couple of questions right now, if we have a few questions, and we'll go on from there. And after we do just a couple of questions, we'll ask our guest, Scott Poteet, to join us. So Scott, get ready. We'll take a couple of questions first. So what do we have, Linda? Oh, yeah, let's say hello to my studio producer here, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, what do we have?
Well, what we have are a lot of shout outs. Los Angeles, Stockton, California.
Wow, Los Angeles and Stockton, California. Howdy, folks. Thanks for joining us. Lancaster. Okay, in Bucks County, great.
New Jersey.
And in New Jersey. Hey, for you folks that are here in the Delaware Valley region, I know we had a really hard day yesterday, and I just wanted to acknowledge you and say, I hope you and your family are safe and your property are safe. And if things didn't go well, I hope things work out okay. But yeah, we had a lot of rain yesterday, a lot of water yesterday. The flooding is still with us and maybe be with us for a while. So, hey, be careful out there. Be safe. If you see a puddle you're driving along and you're along some road and it looks like the water may not be too deep, be careful. Don't drown, turn around, okay? So just be safe out there. I just wanted to acknowledge the folks that have gone through this recent storm. Anybody here with us from that group, thanks a lot for joining us. Who else?
Nova Scotia.
From Nova Scotia, wow, way in the Northeast. Hi, Nova Scotia, thanks for joining us. Great to have you aboard. That's fantastic. Anybody else there?
Well, not yet, but someone wants to know what makes it an all-civilian flight versus astronauts?
So Scott, here's a question for you. I'll ask you to hold on to the answer, though. The question is, what makes it an all-civilian flight as opposed to astronauts? And we'll hold that for Scott. Whoever sent us that question, our guest is going to help us with that. So we'll get that straight from him. What else do you have?
Liz wants to know, how did civilians get their seat on board the flight?
I see. Scott, guess what? You've turned out to be really popular already. All these questions are for you. Nothing for me? Oh, come on. Okay, so those were some of our questions so far, but don't forget, please keep sending us your questions in the comments. And if you're just joining us, you're from someplace else around the country, please let us know where you're joining us from. All those folks from LA and from Stockton and Lancaster and Nova Scotia, Thanks for joining us. All the stuff we talk about being visible in the evening sky is available for you too. So hopefully you'll hang with us. Okay, so folks, we have a really special guest tonight. I am so pleased and happy that we can actually bring to you this particular person because we have this very, very special space flight coming up. You know, in this era of the new race for space, we're seeing all sorts of innovations take place and opportunities open up for people to be able to reach low Earth orbit like never before. So it's not only the spacecraft and the systems and everything like that, but it's the, you know, the people that are available and really want to do this and the opportunities that come forth to make it possible for them. And so we've seen a lot of that. And one of those coming up is a flight that's going to take place a little bit later this month, in which an all-civilian crew is going to take a multi-day trip orbiting Earth. And we have the flight director here with us tonight to help us understand this. Scott Poteet is a retired lieutenant colonel from the United States Air Force. Scott has 3,000 hours behind the stick as a pilot. He retired as a command pilot and has had plenty of experience understanding what flight is all about, and is like the perfect person to have on your team to help pull together something like this. It's really an incredible endeavor. And so Scott is now working with the Inspiration 4 team to pull this flight together. This is going to be a crew that flies aboard a Crew Dragon space capsule, you know, a really modern, spacey looking space capsule that's on board the Falcon 9 rockets from SpaceX that have been so successful in the last couple of years. This is a group that has been giving inspiration to so many of us, but we have Scott aboard with us tonight. So Scott, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us, and glad you could be here tonight.
Thank you very much for having me. It's quite a pleasure. It's also been quite a ride over the last 10 months as the director of this project. Overall, I mean, what exciting times it is for night skies, as well as space exploration, because we're definitely turning the page on this 2.0 for all things space exploration. So it's a pleasure to be with you and talk about it.
Thanks so much, Scott. So Scott, tell us about this. Many people have not heard of Inspiration 4 yet, I don't think. And I know, you know, around here in Delaware Valley, there's not as much talk about it as I think there should be. So can you tell us a little bit about the background of Inspiration 4? And we'd also like to know how you come to this program after your experience in the Air Force.
Absolutely. It'd be a pleasure to talk about it. You know, this is the first all-civilian mission to space. Historically, you know, astronauts are the cream of the crop, that top pinnacle, you know, specimens of fitness and health and intelligence and just the cream of the crop as far as the selection process. They're all government employees, you know, and there have been some civilians, but they've been part of crews that involved NASA astronauts. But this one is unique and special. This one's all about making that transition in space exploration, and this is all civilians. The genesis behind this is Jared Isaacman, who is the CEO of Shift 4 Payments, who is from your area, Allentown, Pennsylvania. And he had the opportunity to have a conversation with SpaceX a mere 10 months ago when this whole thing kicked off.
Wow.
And that conversation provided him an opportunity to purchase this mission. Jared is an entrepreneur. He's a very bright individual, and he just didn't want to make it about himself or just to be another billionaire on a mission, and he wanted to have a cause behind it. So during those initial conversations, he decided, let's make it about not only space exploration, and making it a multi-planetary species as we venture closer and closer to Mars through the mission and vision of Elon and SpaceX. But let's get a cause behind it. And that's where we partnered with St. Jude Children's Research Hospital with the endeavor of raising over $200 million to fight childhood cancer.
Wow.
So that's pretty much how it started. And the journey along the way, the last 10 months, although a blur, it's been quite a ride, and we've been at full throttle lighten the wick early and haven't stopped in the selection process, the announcement back in February with a Super Bowl commercial, and then ultimately the training that these astronauts have gone through to get ready for this mission.
Wow, this is incredible because, you know, first of all, that this has happened so quickly is remarkable, and I would imagine the audience has some questions about that. But also the fact that this is set to benefit St. Jude's Hospital for Children is really unprecedented. I mean, I don't think we've heard of anything like this connected to space travel before ever, or to space exploration before.
Absolutely. And what a phenomenal partner that St. Jude has been throughout this entire endeavor. And ultimately, that was kind of the genesis behind the first selection for Haley Arsenault. Just to give you a little bit of background on how we selected the astronauts, obviously Jared is the commander of the mission itself. And then we ultimately selected 3 other astronauts. The first one was Haley Arsenault. She is a survivor of childhood cancer back when she was 10 years old. And pretty much pursued her dream once she beat cancer and became a physician's assistant at St. Jude. Initially, when we created this partnership with St. Jude, we offered up that seat, the first seat, and that seat actually represents, we have 3 pillars, actually 4 pillars that represent the 4 seats, and her seat was hope, and that's exactly what she represents. And then the third seat that was selected was fulfilled through a sweepstakes. We created a Super Bowl commercial that some of you may have seen. And then anyone who made a donation to St. Jude was entered during the month of February. We have an independent selection process that selected that seat, and Chris Sombrowski was selected, and he represents the pillar of generosity. And finally, through Jared's company, Shift4 Payments, Shift4 Shop is an e-commerce platform. We facilitated and ran a contest for a new and up and coming entrepreneur who started the company with Shift4 Shop, submitted a social media video, 2-minute video explaining, concepts behind their business, as well as why they wanted to pursue the seat prosperity. And we ultimately selected Cyan Proctor, Dr. Proctor, who is a geoscientist and community college professor, to fulfill that seat. So we couldn't ask for a better team. These 4 individuals that make up Inspiration 4 of leadership, hope, generosity, and prosperity, as unbelievable team, and they're going to be a huge success come September 15th when they launch out.
Yeah, that sounds great. That's really remarkable. I mean, this is a great thing in that, just as you said, this isn't, just another sort of a frivolous kind of a thing. I mean, there really is a benefit that, besides all the other benefits, it has the added benefit of helping St. Jude's Hospital for Children with the cancer program. I think that's really fantastic. And I think, a lot of people need to know that. Just a quick special note, Dr. Cyan Proctor is a good friend of the Franklin Institute. She's been on our program before and has visited Franklin Institute, and she and I are colleagues from the Astronomy in Chile Educator Ambassadors Program, where we traveled together with a group of folks to go down to visit the ALMA radio telescope array in Chile a couple of years ago. So it's great that you have this wonderful array of people on board, and I think it's going to be very special. So Scott, tell us about the profile of the flight. We know it's going to happen no earlier than the 15th, but tell us about the mission, how long it will be, things like that.
Absolutely, and this certainly makes it unique in the fact that you've probably seen in the news lately about some suborbital flights. This one is they're going to be up there for 3 days. They're launching from the historic Launch Complex 39 Alpha at Cape Canaveral. In fact, we head out there in a week, less than a week, to start quarantine on the 8th. And then when they launch, hopefully, based on the weather and other contributing factors, we're on schedule. They will launch in a Falcon 9 rocket with a Dragon capsule, and they'll be up there for 3 days, orbiting the Earth every 103 minutes. And they're going to an altitude of 575 kilometers. And that's more or less a lot higher than the ISS at around 400 kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's been up there since some shuttle missions that repaired and worked on the Hubble telescope many moons ago. So we're continuing to push that envelope and push the needle as SpaceX works towards connecting us with Mars.
Wow, that's really incredible. Yeah, that's quite a height. When you say space station and Hubble Space Telescope, I think many people don't realize, Scott, that International Space Station orbits at an altitude around 200 miles, 220 miles or so. But Space Telescope is up around 400 or 425 miles. So that's quite a difference. And hopefully, giving people this kind of perspective and understanding with your description of where the Inspiration 4 mission will be, will help people sort of get an idea of where these different places are above the surface of the Earth, and give them some perspective for this idea of pushing the envelope on the height of this flight. So that's really cool. What sort of stuff will they do on board the mission, Scott, while they're up there?
That's a great question. So most of their time is going to be spent doing science research projects. We've been working diligently to come up with a payload and the cargo, and a lot of that involves the science research equipment, ultrasound. They're going to be sampling bodily fluids is one experiment they're going to be doing. They're going to be performing ultrasounds on themselves and each other. And ultimately just continuing to move that needle and help with space exploration, because the more we do, the longer we stay up there, the more we need to understand what the impact is of space on the human body. So another element to this mission is the cupola. And some of you may have seen the images that came out yesterday on social media demonstrating or showing what the cupola looks like. I've seen it in person. It's unbelievable. And it is a true testament to what SpaceX is able to accomplish. In a mere, I think we started that project less than 8 months ago, and they went through the OT&E, the operational test and development of that element or aspect of the capsule itself. And it's going to provide an unprecedented view of space. So I'm anxious to see the photos that come out of that for sure.
That sounds really exciting. I mean, this is a new development. This is not something that's been used before. So I think people will really enjoy seeing that and understanding how that provides this great opportunity for these folks to get a great view of space, unlike any view that astronauts have had before. I mean, when we think about the cupola that's on the International Space Station, the construction of that is very different. That's individual windows with framing between the windows. And here, what we're talking about really is like a fishbowl over the top of the capsule, so that astronauts can actually put their head right up in this and be able to see space all around.
Absolutely. And you would think, when we've had an opportunity to look at it and explore it and stick your head up, depth perception wise, it's made based on several panels, but you really cannot see the glass or the material at all. So it truly feels like you are just kind of floating there in space. So they are certainly excited to experience and see what that's all about.
That's great, Scott. So now tell me, how do you come to this project?
Timing and being good friends with Jared Isaacman. I've been working for him since I retired 6 years ago, flew F-16s for 20 years, and made the transition into a company that he had started called Draken International. It was an adversary program, so it was a commercial fleet of fighter aircraft that would provide a service to the Air Force, certainly more cost effective than how we used to do business in the past, or the Air Force continues to do business where they organically generate their own bad guys replicating the threat. So the Air Force elected to start outsourcing, and he came up with this idea with a fleet of fighters procuring aircraft from all over the world. So I worked business development with him for about 5 years, made the transition over to his credit card payments processing company as a VP of investor relations. But shortly after I joined that company, he started Inspiration 4 and put me in charge of all things on the ground.
Well, with your experience, 3,000 hours as an F-16 pilot, F-16C pilot, 300 hours as a test pilot, and also a few hours as a P-51 pilot. I got to give you credit for that. That's a heck of a plane to fly. You must feel like one of the luckiest guys on earth to be part of this project.
You know, I am truly blessed to have this opportunity. Having this employment with Jared, you never know where you're going to be in 6 months. It continues to evolve and be quite the ride and the experience. And just going through this entire process with this crew has been a whirlwind. I mean, we didn't quite know what the training was going to be like, the syllabus, but it has been full tilt. These guys are going through exactly what prior SpaceX astronauts have gone through, that have flown in Dragon, anywhere from all the hours and hours upon simulator training here at Hawthorne is where we're currently at, as well as water survival training out at KSC. And then we came up with our own training just to replicate some of the things that NASA does with a fighter jet training experience for the entire crew. Jared still owns a fleet of fighters that we fly on a routine basis, a MiG-29, a couple Alpha jets, as well as 3 or 4 L-39s. So we set up a program where we put the crew in the back seats to kind of give them that opportunity to experience a high G state, something a little more extreme than what they'll experience on the launch and the splashdown of the Dragon. We also set up a program where we went to climb Mount Rainier. Again, stick them in a tent on the side of a mountain a austere environment to experience what it's like to be uncomfortable, how to deal with it on an individual basis, as well as working together as a team. So all in all, it's been an amazing experience for myself as well as the crew as they prepare for this mission.
Scott, how will the Inspiration 4 project share this experience with the general public?
So the best way to experience the launch itself, other than seeing it in person, which was my first experience. Apparently I'd gone there. There you go. Come on out. I experienced a couple launches as a kid, the space shuttle, but I vaguely remember them. So as part of this training, we went to a couple launches and just to experience, even from miles away, that, especially in the early morning launches, you see the rocket lift off and you don't really hear anything for a while. And then all of a sudden you hear this rumble start building, and then it's just thumping of the chest, and it gives you chills. Even talking about it gives me chills. So we have 3 venues that we're going to bring family members to. One is the OSB-2 location, which is only a couple miles away. But otherwise, to answer your question, the SpaceX is up in their game on their webcast. The fact that this is the first all-civilian commercial flight. They're incorporating a lot of content that they've been collecting over the years, or the months, excuse me, as well as the partnership with St. Jude and the content that they've been collecting as well. So it's going to be quite an experience just to watch it on their live webcast. And we've actually been working with Time and Netflix on a documentary that is, the trailer actually came out this afternoon or this morning. And that project is phenomenal. And the first episodes 1 and 2 will be released on the 6th. and I've had the pleasure of screening episodes 1 and 2. And man, I feel like I'm a tough guy being a fighter pilot, but you know, it was a bit teary-eyed watching that, especially that first episode, Haley's story, and just to see the impact that this mission is having on humanity. At times you just got to stop, take a time out, and take a step back and see what is going on, because it's so easy to get you know, in the weeds, blinders on, mission focused. But this entire project is going to have a huge impact on space exploration, and as we move the needle and try to get towards a multiplanetary species.
Yeah, you're probably also hoping that a lot of younger folks see this and maybe find this as an inspiration for them to consider pursuing careers in the space industry somehow.
I see a direct example of that through my son, 11-year-old Logan. He is a SpaceX nut now. He's always talking about it. He's got books he's pulled from the library on Apollo 11. But yeah, we are seeing quite the impact throughout the entire crew. I mean, coincidentally, we hit all generations. We got a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, and a 60-year-old on this crew. So we're hitting all the generations. And it's really neat because I'm behind the scenes most of the time, but I'm with them 24/7 throughout this journey and this path, and seeing the impact that they're having on those younger generations. We couldn't ask for a better example that we're setting for these younger generations. Haley with the kids, her patience. I mean, she is truly having an impact on these younger kids, and hopefully, they're going to pursue whether it's medicine or space exploration. They're going to have these opportunities for sure.
Yeah, it's just a tremendous inspiration for kids to consider STEM careers in whatever aspect of this mission they find really exciting. So it's a great thing to do for that. But the other thing that really stands out is more than once you've mentioned the connection to Allentown, Pennsylvania. So in a way, we kind of feel like this is a local story too.
Absolutely, yeah, it's certainly a local story. We see it daily on the impact that Jared's having on that community. He's got quite a presence there, and it's only amplified and increased since he is taking on this role as the commander of Inspiration 4. And it's nice to see the coverage, because he deserves it based on the generosity and the humility that he has, and the selflessness of the commitments of resources and time he has for this mission.
Oh, that's incredible. Do you have any idea if Jared has in mind any subsequent missions after this one?
He gets asked that question quite a bit, so I'm going to have to go with his canned answer of the focus is now. We have to succeed on this mission. Otherwise, we're going to have an impact on all subsequent missions to come. And it would set our desire for space exploration, our collectively, humanity, years if we do not succeed on this mission. So they are all laser focused. But, if the opportunity affords itself in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes advantage of it.
Well, the question only comes up because people are so excited about this, and they look to see something like this be able to continue, with all the best wishes and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not surprised that people would ask a question like that. So Scott, right now, you said a little bit earlier that you're coming up on quarantine soon for the astronauts, and so they're all going to go to Florida, and they'll be socked away in quarantine until launch while the other preparations are taking place. Can you tell us a little bit about that? But can you also tell us a little bit about what it's been like to work with SpaceX?
Absolutely. So, training is coming to an end. They have a couple more loose items to complete as far as maintaining currency in the simulator, It's like any other, well, I can't say it's like any other aircraft, but it's unique in and of itself and very new age compared to some of the old steam gauge fighter jets that I've flown. But you got to maintain that proficiency in currency. So they're going to come back out here just prior to going in quarantine to get rehack currencies as far as working with the screens, the touch screens of the Dragon capsule. But ultimately their training is complete. Today, in fact, we just concluded the flight readiness review where all the SpaceX engineers kind of come together and give a status update of the various aspects and elements of the launch and the mission itself, which is, I'm blown away every time I come out here. This company is amazing. You know, they're all young pups, this 20, 30 something year olds, engineers, just brilliant beyond belief. Someone who comes with a degree of outdoor recreation, flying fighters. I definitely bring down the IQ when I walk in that building. These women and men are amazing. They're amazing to work with. They're humble. They're certainly approachable. And they're dedicated. They work many long hours. So it's been quite a pleasure to work with these folks. And as far as where the crew is at right now, they get a little bit R&R for the next over the weekend into the beginning of next week, but then they're right back out here, and then we go into quarantine. And as far as the quarantine is concerned, we'll button down in a condo out there at KSC. It's a select, it's a fairly tight circle as far as who gets quarantined. It's going to be the crew, their immediate family, a couple support networks, and then myself and my counterparts, Todd Erickson and Sean Gustafson, also former Air Force pilots. Todd was a test pilot, and Sean was a former Thunderbird F-16 pilot as well. So we'll be in quarantine with them. We'll continue some training, again, going through procedures, checklists, updates on a frequent basis. We'll start the daily weather briefs and status updates on the systems itself. And it will continue to build up until launch. A lot of rehearsals going into those last few days as far as suit up, just to rehearse it so there's not even, you don't have to think about it much. They go into a certain procedure, certain process, and they don't even think about it because they've rehearsed it. Just so there's no surprises and they're all ready to go for launch come September 15th.
Well, this all sounds really fantastic, Scott. I can't imagine how it is you managed to sleep just because of the excitement. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us. This has been incredibly enlightening, and we've had this really wonderful look behind the scenes. We wish everybody, the crew, everybody on board, the best of luck, and we really look forward to traveling along with you on this really great adventure as we follow along online. So thanks again, and Scott, I hope maybe we can reach out to you afterwards, and we can have another conversation a little bit later.
Absolutely, and I'll get Jared on here because I'm sure you guys would rather talk to him or the crew more than myself, but. We appreciate all the support for Inspiration 4 and St. Jude. Without their partnership, we couldn't have made it through the last 10 months. So, and
the Franklin Institute Science Museum is a great place for people to learn all about this, and we're going to do our best to make sure that people are aware of what's going on with the project and the mission. And if you're listening to this program and you think this is exciting, think about doing something for St. Jude. It's a great program. And, also follow this program online. You can follow what Scott's doing and what the whole team is doing at the Inspiration 4 website. You can find out all about this. Scott, I know you're busy. You've taken way too much time, but we are really, really grateful. Thank you very much. Good luck with everything. Say hi to my good friend, Cy, for me. And we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, guys. Godspeed.
Thanks. Wow. Amazing. Isn't that incredible? I hope you learned a lot here. I learned a lot, and I hope you had a chance to think about this, dream about this, and also follow this mission. This is going to be really exciting. You heard him say that there's a series coming on Netflix that starts on the 6th that allows you to follow this mission. And if you go to the Inspiration 4 website, you can follow the mission as well. You know, this is going to be a SpaceX launch, and SpaceX has the greatest video of launches. You know, you can watch the cameras on the outside of the rocket as it's taking off. And because this is such a really cool space capsule, we're going to have great interior views during this 3-day mission. So jump on board, follow this mission. I'll do my best to keep you up to date on what's going on with this through Facebook and Twitter. But you got to keep on top of this because this is truly a unique and historic flight, because it's an all-civilian flight that really is opening the doors to civilian space exploration and space tourism. Okay, great. I'm so glad you could be with us tonight to share this time with Scott. And we really appreciate having Scott with us. He's got that great picture of himself there in his flight suit in his F-16C. And yes, I'm jealous beyond belief, but we won't talk about that now. Okay, great. All right, so folks, we have a lot of other stuff we're going to get to tonight. We're going to talk about that night sky, as I mentioned before. We're going to see what's up there in the sky for us to see during the late summer hours, great constellations, planetary positions. We'll talk about International Space Station. If you have questions, please send us questions. We don't mind what the questions are. I asked for space exploration questions, but even if they aren't space exploration questions, if they're astronomy questions about how to see the sky, how to use binoculars, how to use a telescope, where to go to see the best, please send us your questions. We'd love to have them, okay? Great. So let's jump on board with a couple of other things that we want to do right now. One of the things we want to do is we want to go out and take a look at a really good star map that will help us understand where we can find things in the night sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up one of my favorite star maps. Now, in order for me to do this, one of the things I have to do first here is let me just do a little background screen housekeeping here. We're all set. First thing for me to do is I'm going to share my screen. So let me just make a few changes here and here, here, and one other one right here. We can do without that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to just flip over here right quick. Coming up on sharing my screen. It'll take a moment to come up for you to see. But when we get there, I'll ask my studio producer, can you see my star map now? My studio producer says, yes, it's there. So I hope you can see it too. Okay, great. I'm just going to minimize myself here. We don't need to see me very much. There we go. Okay. So, Stellarium-web.org. You can see up in my URL search bar, this is the star map that I'm using. Stellarium is a product that is used for mobile star maps. I use it on my phone, I use it on my iPad, but they actually have this web version that's really, really cool. So if you have a laptop or a desktop computer, you can use this. It's a very simple star map, very straightforward. It uses your mouse or your trackpad to manipulate the map, and it's really easy to understand. If you're looking at the screen, you'll see my pointer here circling in the sky. Looking toward the east, you'll see the letter E down at the bottom of the screen there that indicates the direction in which we're observing. I'm going to rotate the screen around just to bring it around to south. And I do that because I always recommend to folks that as you're getting used to looking at the night skies, you face the direction south so that you can match the motion of the sky, the apparent motion of the sky overhead as you're out under the sky observing. It's really not the sky that's moving. That's the way it looks. That's why we call it apparent. It's actually the Earth rotating underneath the sky. The sky appears to go from east to west, but it's actually the Earth rotating from west to east underneath the sky. You can confirm this as you look at the sun tomorrow. I shouldn't say look at the sun. As you recognize how the sun appears to cross the sky, it is that the Earth rotates underneath the sky, and that makes it seem as if the sun is moving from east to west. It's actually just the Earth underneath. One other piece of information you'll need about the screen here is over in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a gray box that has some numbers. That's the current time at which the map is set to observe. and it also shows the date. And right now it shows that we're observing at 8:43 p.m., 8:43. It's actually 8:34 p.m. here on the East Coast. So the map is running about 10 minutes ahead of time. That's okay, we're close enough here. But if you click on that box, what you can do is you now have a tool that allows you to adjust the time, adjust the date that you're seeing. So you can go anywhere in time you'd like to see what the sky looks like. You can even set this for your birthday. So you can set this for the day you were born to see what the sky looked like on the day you were born. You can do that. And you can set the time as well. You can also pause the motion of this and have it restart again just by using the pause little clicker right there in the middle. We're going to just close that out. Now, as we're looking at the screen, here's what we're seeing. As we look up into the sky, looking toward the south, we can see the bright stars here. Two of the bright stars are actually labeled, and those are Vega, V-E-G-A, right at the top of the sky. This is the brightest star in the constellation Lyra the Heart, one of the main stars of the summer sky. And over toward the west, the other star you're seeing is actually an orange star. It's really a red giant called Arcturus. Arcturus right there is nice and bright and easy to see. And if you click on any one of the objects you see on the screen, over on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see there's some data about it. You can actually pick up all sorts of information about the object you've clicked on. We've clicked on Arcturus, and so we can look through the information here, and we can see that its distance is 32.72 light years away. It means, of course, that the light we receive from Arcturus now took almost 33 years to get here. That's how far away Arcturus is. Light traveling at the speed of light, it takes 33 years for light to get here from there. But there you can see the information about the star or whatever object you click on, and if you hit the X, it'll go away. So now let's get right down to it. So we can see way over on the western horizon, down close to the horizon now, we can see the bright planet Venus is about to set over there in the west. So if you were outside, you turn to your right to look toward the west to see Venus. And if we come back across the sky and look over to the southeastern portion of the sky, you'll see Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn, of course, is the ringed planet of our solar system. Jupiter also has a very thin single ring. It's very hard to see looking out from Earth, but if you were out past Jupiter looking back toward the sun, you would be able to see that ring silhouetted against the sky. The light from the sun would illuminate the particles of that ring and you'd be able to see it, but nowhere near as spectacular as the rings of Saturn. Now, for both of these planets, binoculars will help you get a better view. The rings will be a little bit difficult to discern, but with a pair of binoculars pointed at Jupiter, you can see the 4 brightest moons of Jupiter without any difficulty at all. You'll need a steady hand and dark skies to see them, but you can see those 4 little pinpricks of light that will be the 4 brightest moons of Jupiter. Jupiter has a lot of moons, as does Saturn. I don't even keep track of the number anymore. There are so many, in the high 60s and low 70s for the number of moons. And it really is dependent upon how small you want to measure the moon, or the moonlet in the case of the really small ones. But nonetheless, we now know that these planets have lots and lots and lots of moons. But as we look across the sky, we can also see where the Milky Way stretches across the sky. If you come right down to the letter S at the bottom and just stretch along that fuzzy patch of sky you see going up at a diagonal between Saturn and the bright star Vega, that's the Milky Way. These are the arms of our galaxy that we're seeing stretched out across the sky. So as we're looking out in this direction, if we actually look down toward the southern end of this image, right down here in the south, we have 2 constellations down here. But generally speaking, looking through this area of the sky, right down near the southern portion of the sky, we're looking in toward the center of the Milky Way galaxy. We're looking in toward the center, and everything in the arms of the spiral galaxy are rotating around that center point. Where we are here on planet Earth, we're way out from the center of the galaxy, about 2/3 of the distance from the center of the galaxy out toward the outer spiral arms. So in a way, you could say we're sort of way out in the celestial boonies of the galaxy. We're so far from the center of the galaxy. Many, many, many more stars down near the center of the galaxy. And if you take your binoculars and sort of look along the arms of the Milky Way, you can see the combined light of the billions of stars that make up the soft glow of the Milky Way galaxy. This will be a challenge to see in an urban environment, but if you can get yourself outside, away from the lights, you'll begin to pick up some of the Milky Way with your naked eye, and you'll also be able to pick up more of the stars with a pair of binoculars. You know, the best way to do this sky observation is when you go outside, try not to observe anywhere near bright lights, like street lights or, you know, car dealerships or anything like that. Get yourself away from the bright lights. And then you need to give your eyes a chance to adjust. It actually takes a full 40 to 45 minutes for your eyesight to adjust to the darkest skies. And as you're doing that, what you're allowing for is for the most sensitive portion of your eyes to become activated so that they can pick up light from these dim stars. So if you're out away from city lights, if you're out under the sky for an hour, you'll notice how much more you can see. And that works out really, really well for observing some of these dimmer objects. But here we are under the sky. Let's take a look at some of the brighter constellation stars and constellations that are here. So I'm going to pick out particular ones for you to see, so you'll know which ones I'm thinking of. I'm going to start right at the top of the picture here at a bright star that's right here called Deneb. Deneb is the brightest star of the constellation Cygnus the Swan. And Cygnus actually looks like a big cross. You could think of it as the northern cross of the sky, opposite the southern cross of the southern sky. This could be your northern cross. Why do I say that? Because here are the stars that make it up. Let's make this star right here, Deneb, that would be the top of the cross. We're going to come down to the center of the cross, where the crossbar goes across here like this. There's the crossbar. And we'll come down to the foot of the cross right here. So there you can see, without much difficulty at all, the 5 stars that make up the northern cross. Deneb up here at the top, Alberio is the star at the bottom, and these 3 stars across the middle mark the crossbar. Now, Deneb's a really cool star because if we bring up the information about Deneb, we'll find out that Deneb is 1,411 light years away. 1,400 light years away. The light we see tonight left that star 1,411 years ago. So we're seeing that star as it appeared that long ago. It may have changed significantly, but any change that happens today, we won't know about it for 1,400 years. Now let's compare this brightness with the brightness of something like Vega. Now, Vega looks like it's a much brighter star because it's a bigger dot. And indeed, if we look at what the brightness is, we'll see over here under the magnitude 0.09. That means it's a first magnitude star, one of the brightest stars in the sky. But notice its distance. It's only 25 light years away. So it's much, much closer. But as you observe the stars in the sky, you'll notice that the brightness difference doesn't appear to be that great. Let's look at one more star. And that's this one right here. It's called Altair. It's in the constellation Aquila the Eagle. And you'll notice that the distance on Altair is 16 light years, just 16. So these 2 stars, Altair and Vega, are much, much closer than Deneb is. But when you look at them in the sky, you'll see their brightness seems rather similar. Here's what that tells us. It tells us that the star Deneb must be a really big, very bright star because it's so much farther away. That's the only way it could appear close in brightness to the other 2 that are just 16 light years away and 25 light years away. So we're learning something about the sky just by looking at the brightness of the stars. Even though it may look small, it could be its distance that makes it seem that way. If we brought that star, Deneb, up as close as these other 2 stars, oh, it would blow those stars away. It'd be so much brighter than those. So this is a really significant star. That's Deneb, that's at the top of the constellation Cygnus the Swan. So we also talked about Altair down here as part of the constellation Aquila the Eagle, and Vega, part of the constellation Lyra the Harp. They are all along the Milky Way. And if you can find these 3 stars, you found the major star feature of the summer sky, the summer triangle. Easy to locate 3 bright stars under any kind of skies, as long as the skies are clear. No clouds, by the way. But even under center city lights, you can see these 3 bright stars. So you can identify where the summer triangle is, and you can see where the Milky Way would be. Let's go down to the bottom of the screen where we come to the south. We have 2 other constellations down here. One is called Sagittarius. I'm circling the stars of Sagittarius right now. And another constellation right over to the right of it called Scorpius. Here's Scorpius over here. Now here's another feature that this program does that's really cool, and that is we can zoom in. And what you can see is that I've zoomed in really, really close. There's a Starlink satellite zooming across the screen. I've come in really, really close. And I'm scrolling down to get to this portion of the sky that shows where Scorpius is. And here I've come to the head of Scorpius the Scorpion, a figure that many people know because of its astrological significance. This is one of those constellations of the zodiac group. And these three stars mark the head of the Scorpion right here. The heart of the Scorpion is right here at this red star called Antares. And if I slide my screen just a little bit to put the whole constellation on the screen, and of course, this is a bit drastic because we can't get that close. I'll bring it back just a little bit. We can see the full shape of the Scorpion now. The star Shala marks the tail of the Scorpion. The body of the Scorpion comes here, and here's the head. Let's put some lines up so you can see what it looks like. There we go. That helps a lot. Look at that. So now we can see that shape really nicely. Here are the three bright stars that mark the head. There's the heart of the Scorpion. Here's the body of the Scorpion, the tail of the Scorpion, and Shaula is the stinger right there. I'll move the screen over just a little bit more so we can see where Sagittarius is. And here's Sagittarius. These bright stars right here mark this bright constellation of the summer sky. So you'll notice that these two constellations flank the Milky Way. So if you can find the stars of these two constellations, plus the bright star Vega up at the top of the sky, or Deneb at the top of the sky, you can see where the path of the Milky Way flows across the sky. So all these stars are really very bright, very easy to see. And this is a particularly rich area of the sky to investigate with a pair of binoculars. Why? Because there are lots of deep sky objects like nebulae, clouds of gas and dust that represent stars that have lived their lives and have exploded, leaving the remnants as a cloud of gas and dust. Some places across the sky, nebulae actually are places where that gas and dust is coming together to form new stars. That's true for the constellation Orion that you see in the winter sky, very easy to recognize. But as you're just scrolling through here with a pair of binoculars, you'll be able to see those areas quite nicely under dark skies. So I'm going to back out a little bit more here, just so you can see the rest of the constellations that are in the sky. I won't walk through all of it here, but I wanted you to see how this program works so that you can investigate for yourself. And you can pick the constellations you'd like to look at, and you can get information about those constellations you'd like to see. So one more feature I'm going to point out for you that I think is really worth knowing about. First of all, I'm going to turn the sky to the east, and I'm going to adjust the time. So I'll give you a chance to see how this feature works. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to go forward in time, forward. I'm going to take us forward a couple of hours. I'm going to take us up to about midnight. Here we are now, it's midnight. And at midnight, we can see that Jupiter has moved higher in the sky, but the feature that I really want you to take a look at with a pair of binoculars under dark skies is a galaxy, a spiral galaxy like our own. And it's the galaxy known as the Andromeda Galaxy right here in the center of the screen. Now I'm going to enlarge this. First, I'm going to close my box down here, get rid of that. I'm going to enlarge the screen, and I'm going to adjust so that we can come right in on this galaxy. Here it is right here in this oval. It's a fuzzy patch of light. This is a spiral galaxy just like ours, about the same size. So that means it must contain somewhere around 350 billion stars. It's a really big spiral, but it's also very far away. It's 2.9 million light years away. Did you get that? 2.9 million light years away. That means the light we see from it tonight left about 3 million years ago. Now, this is easy to see under clear, dark skies. You can actually see it with the naked eye, with no binoculars, under clear, dark skies. So for my folks that are listening up in Nova Scotia, guess what? This is something that you can see under clear, dark skies there. If you're out in Stockton, California, or even if you're in LA, get outside the city, go someplace where the sky is dark. You can see this galaxy with a pair of binoculars, no problem at all, and naked eye if your sky is dark enough. But how do we find it? How do we actually find it in the sky? It's not too difficult, actually, to tell you the truth. You see where it is? Keep your eye on it, because I'm going to move things back like this. I'm going to adjust the sky a little bit to represent where we see it on the horizon. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to rotate us around to the southeast. Here's why I'm going to do this. Here is your guide to Andromeda. Very straightforward. One of the main constellations of the fall sky is Pegasus. 4 stars mark the square of the horse of Pegasus. That square right there, the great square of Pegasus. So if you come to the corner star right here at the corner of the box, remember, you can come back to this map and do this yourself. Start with that star and count out 3 stars. 1, 2, I should say 2 stars. 1 star, 2 stars. Now go up 1 star, 2 stars. And right there is where the galaxy is. You see how simple that is? It's really simple. The great square is easy to find because the stars are bright. You go to the corner of the square, you count out 2 stars, 1, 2. You go up 2 stars, 1, 2. There's the galaxy. Easy to see. Now, you might have to practice this a couple of times to actually see it, but I guarantee you it's really worth doing. What a reward to be able to see another spiral galaxy just like ours at almost 3 million light years away. Oh, by the way, here's the challenge for you. Try to see it without the binoculars. Really give it a good try. Why? Because this is the most distant object humans can see without optical aid. There's nothing else more distant that we could see without optical aid. So try that. Okay? All right. So we've done a lot here looking around the skies to see what constellations are available. I'm going to stop sharing here right now, come back and join you right here just to finish up a couple of other things we wanted to try to do here as part of our program. I wanted to remind you again that the Autumnal Equinox is coming up. It's on September 22nd this year. September 22nd. It happens in the afternoon. Let me see if I put down the time. Yes, I did. 3:21 p.m. on September 22nd marks the beginning of fall, the autumnal equinox. This is a point in the Earth's orbit around the sun when it just so happens that the sun is rising directly east and setting directly west. There are 2 days during the year in which that happens, and that's the first day of fall and the first day of spring. So as the Earth continues on its motion around the sun, we get these interesting phenomena of where we see sunrise and sunset. So on that day, directly east and directly west, sunrise and sunset, right on those days, right around those days. So be aware of that, and we'll be moving into the fall sky for observing. We mentioned the planets. We talked about those constellations that we can see. That's really, really wonderful. But as I mentioned before, this is a perfect opportunity for you to orient yourself to the sky to understand how things are setting up. If you're actually out under the sky watching and you see some bright streaks of light coming by or seeming to emanate from the eastern portion of the sky late at night, you're actually still seeing a couple of Perseid meteors left over from the Perseid meteor shower that peaked earlier this month around August the 12th. That's a shower that lasts from the end of July to the end of August. So you may be still seeing a couple of Perseid showers out there. I mentioned earlier that space station might be something that's visible for you as well. As it turns out, most of the space station flybys over Philadelphia, at least, for the next 10 days are happening in the pre-dawn skies. So there's only one that's really worth taking note of, and that's on the 10th of September. And on that day, in the morning at 5:45 a.m., space station is going to make a full sky passover. And it's really notable because it flies by the great galaxy. It flies by the Andromeda Galaxy. It flies right through the constellation Orion and right by the bright star Sirius. Now, these are winter constellations I'm speaking of. So if you're out that morning, you get the added bonus of not just seeing space station, but you also get to see another really interesting thing. the winter constellations in the southeastern portion of the sky, while you can still see Cygnus in the northwestern portion of the sky. So you get to see 3 seasons of stars in one view. The summer constellations far in the northwest, the fall constellations high in the south, and over in the southeastern portion of the sky, you'll see the winter constellations coming on, all with space station flying across the sky. So maybe 5:45 in the morning of September 10th, you might want to get out and do that. You know, there are a couple of websites that will help you figure out where to see International Space Station, no matter where you are. If you go to the NASA website, nasa.gov, and look up Spot the Station, that will tell you when International Space Station will next be visible where you are. One of the programs I use is heavens-above.com, heavens-above.com. The dash is very important. Please don't forget it. And that will give you a ton of information about how to see space station and other orbiting satellites flying over your region. And of course, you've seen before, one of the things I use is See a Satellite Tonight. That's a website that I use that works out really well to help you see those things. So there are a number of different resources you can use, as well as many other resources. If you would like a printable sky map, try skymaps.com. Skymaps.com will give you free printable sky maps usable anywhere in the world. And you'll find those to be very helpful because you can take those out to look at the night sky without having to take your mobile computer device or your smartphone. Speaking of smartphones, you have all sorts of astronomy apps available on your smartphones as well. So don't forget, the Franklin Institute is open. We're open Wednesday through Sunday. We look forward to having you come down and visit with us. You know, we have all the great exhibits at the Franklin Institute that you've enjoyed over the years. But don't forget, we also have a really cool Now Next pop-up exhibit about jellyfish called Jellyfish Reveal. I've got to tell you, you know, I went in to take a look at this, and it really is spectacular and fun to see these really cool jellyfish and understand a little bit more about the lives of jellyfish. I know you might think this is kind of odd for the Franklin Institute, but there is a really important connection between the type of jellyfish we have and why we have them at the Franklin Institute. They're my favorite kind of jellyfish. I told this joke last month too. You know what kind of jellyfish are my favorite jellyfish? Moon jellyfish. Get it? Moon, astronomy, jellyfish. Yeah, okay, I'll stick to my day job. Okay, thank you. And don't forget, coming up next year, Harry Potter, the exhibition coming to the Franklin Institute in early 2022. You can find out all about it at the Franklin Institute's website. So if you go to fi.edu, you can learn all about the upcoming Harry Potter exhibit. We encourage you to find out about it now so that when tickets go on sale, you can get in line to get your tickets early. It's going to be a spectacular exhibit. But we look forward to having you come visit us at the Franklin Institute. And until we can get back to night skies in the observatory, we'll be here next month with the October edition of Night Skies at Home. We hope you'll join us then. You can follow me on Twitter, @CoolAstronomer is my handle. And the Franklin Institute at Home programs, the other Franklin Institute at Home programs, you'll find at the Franklin Institute's website as well. Don't forget, stay safe out there. If you're still dealing with some flooding in your region, please watch out for that. But in the meantime, have a great September. Enjoy the first day of the fall, and we'll see you next month. I'm Derrick Pitts, Chief Astronomer at the Franklin Institute Science Museum, your cool astronomer. Thanks for joining us tonight. And don't forget, watch out for the Inspiration 4 spaceflight launching on September 15th. You can follow it online. And please give a shout out to our good friend, Dr. Cyan Proctor, who's on board this spaceflight. She's been with us here at this program online. She's been to the Franklin Institute to give programs, and we hope to have her back again after her flight. So give her a shout out online and stay tuned to that mission. Thanks a lot for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time around. Enjoy your summer skies.